I cut this $500 cowboy boot in half, broke it down piece by piece. Plus, I also cut this $150 pair of Justin cowboy boots in half to find out exactly what the difference is between this expensive pair of cowboy boots and this cheaper pair of cowboy boots. Not too long ago, I thought it was crazy to pay $500 for a pair of boots, but actually seeing what goes into these, it makes total sense. Stick around to the end because you're gonna find out exactly what makes these cowboy boots cost over $500 and what you're getting for that price, because there's a lot that goes into a boot that you would never see otherwise. So I'm gonna be breaking down this pair of Chisos number 5. This is a snip toe cowboy boot in rough out leather. Now, I recently reviewed Chisos and they're definitely one of my favorite cowboy boot brands, hands down. Still, $500, it's a lot of money no matter how you look at it, but honestly, in the world of cowboy boots, I'd say that's pretty mid-range, maybe high-end as well. As wild as that sounds, there are plenty of custom cowboy boot makers who charge anywhere between $3,500 and $6,000 for a single pair of boots. And still, there are also cheaper cowboy boots out there, which is why I wanted to compare this Chisos number 5 to the Justin work boot, just to get an idea of the differences, both in materials and in construction. Before we dive in, I just want to say this video is possible because of the best socks you can wear with your cowboy boots. These are the Camel City Mill lightweight work socks. They're made with merino wool, so your feet stay dry and comfortable even if you're working a 14-hour shift in your boots. If you struggle with sweaty feet, these are definitely the socks for you. They're 100% USA made here in North Carolina, and because they're a mid-calf design, they stay hiked up above the top of the cowboy boot. Camel City Mill backs their socks with a 10-year durability guarantee, so even if you get a hole in these in the first 10 years of owning them, you just send them back and they're gonna get you new ones. So I have a link in the description below where you can buy these socks today. This is how we support the channel and get to do cool boot experiments like this. So I'm gonna cut these cowboy boots in half now and then break apart each piece so we can truly get a picture of every aspect of both of these boots. Let's look at the Justin waterproof work boot first. To understand exactly what goes into a $500 pair of cowboy boots, it's gonna help to compare to a $150 boot. So now that we got these both cut in half, I'm gonna zoom in on the crosscut so we can closely look at each piece. The way this boot is constructed is the most common, fastest, and most cost-effective way to build a pair of boots. Most boots that you're gonna find in the mall, they're built similarly to this, and the main advantage is that it doesn't cost a lot. So the most obvious thing you see first is that the whole boot is lined with a fabric liner rather than leather. A lot of brands, they're gonna tout this as a breathability thing, when in truth, surrounding your foot with polyester, that's definitely gonna make your feet sweat more, hence why wool socks like the Camel City Mill Lightweight, they help so much. That's why. And then the second major difference is the insole construction. So with this Justin work boot, you get a 1mm foam footbed with about 4mm of a composite or a fiberboard type material just below that. So there is a steel shank along the arch, so that's good, but otherwise you're getting a really thin insole made with some pretty weak sauce components. The whole upper right here, it's just basically glued to the rubber sole. There is this little welt thing around here that also has a stitch, but with the boot cut in half, you can see that the stitch is purely decorative and it doesn't really attach to anything. So those are gonna be the two main things we focus on, but I also wanna just note the fiberboard heel and what looks like this Celastic heel counter. I don't think synthetics in the heel or toe are such a bad thing because they do help keep the shape of the boot well, but when you combine that Celastic heel with fiberboard, it's just not gonna hold up very much to any sort of abuse, especially for a work boot. So now let's actually look at the Chisos number 5 to see what goes into a $500 work boot. Chisos number 5, right away you can see that there's no synthetics cracks, or at least very little, throughout this entire boot. So this Chisos has a really nice red leather lining throughout the entirety of the boot, all the way through the toe as well. Now mind you, this liner right here is 1 millimeter thick, which is half as thick as the Justin boot's outer leather. It's really soft, really pliable, and because it has a ton of flex to it, it doesn't add to the break-in period at all, but it definitely helps with long-term comfort and durability. Now, looking at the sole, you can already see some massive differences. It's almost entirely leather on the Chisos. Let's start with the insole right here. That's this beautiful piece of 5 millimeter oak tanned leather, which is really tough, really durable. Toward the toe, you can see the insole is attached directly to the outsole with a Goodyear stitch. And as we move toward the heel, you can see a bit of cork filler here, a steel shank, another piece of leather under that, and then at the base of the heel, there's also this strip of hardened nylon or some sort of synthetic. The reason why they add this to the boot is because if you put that leather insole right on top of the stacked leather heel or any other piece of leather really, you're gonna end up with a ton of squeaking. It sounds like a mouse is in the heel as that leather rubs together. So it's good to see that little piece right there. You want that for sure. And this entire heel right here is all stacked leather, which gives this boot a really nice weight, and it's just gonna last forever. Now Chisos also adds this decorative red nylon pad under the rubber cap. That just looks cool, but it's also nice to have because if you do wear out that rubber heel and you chew into that piece of nylon, it's much cheaper, much easier to have that pulled off and replaced rather than separating out the leather heel and replacing that whole part, which can happen if you don't get a new heel soon enough. It's definitely worth noting that the insole not only has a Goodyear stitch, but it also has several brass tacks throughout the heel, and I'm seeing some clinch nails coming from the bottom that keep this entire construction rock solid. One thing you get in a lot of cowboy boots that cost north of $250 is there are these lemon wood pegs on the bottom. With that leather insole and the amount of moisture that actually comes from your foot down throughout the whole boot, having wooden pegs that sort of like breathe along with the leather, it definitely helps ensure that those fasteners, they don't fall out. It's a traditional way of making cowboy boots, and while I'm sure you could use something else there to achieve the same exact effect, I just kind of like that most brands stick with the traditional lemon wood. That's just a really cool aspect. On the Justin, I noted those elastic heel counters, but here on the Chisos, it is a totally different story. We have another 5 millimeter thick piece of oak tan leather for the heel counter, which might be a little bit more difficult to break in, but it's gonna give you so much more support and it's gonna be so much more comfortable in the long run. Not to mention, way more durable. Now it does look like there is a thin piece of celastic around the heel there too, but it's playing more of a supporting role. It's not the star, that 5 millimeter veg tan leather. That's exactly what you want in your heel counter. It's just a way better way of making a pair of boots. Now I didn't mention much about the differences in the design or anything like that. I wanted to keep this video simple and just focus on the materials and construction you're getting with a $500 cowboy boot. But it's also pretty clear to me that you get a massive step up in the style with a $500 boot as well. Now on this particular pair of Justins, I think the decorative stitching here is pretty sweet. It's 8 rows of various colored stitches, and that takes a lot of time and skill to be able to pull off. Now I'm pretty sure someone in Vietnam is literally doing that all on a machine, following a pattern, and it looks really good. Like they're doing it pretty much by hand, so mad skills go into that. To me, this is definitely the most impressive part of the Justin boot. But what really stuck out to me with this Chisos boot is something you rarely see from the bigger mass manufactured brands. It's that the design, it's a little more graphics based rather than pattern based. So you get this really cool steer skull on the front and the sun with some diamondy thingies on the back. Now, usually this is tucked under your pant leg, but when you take a seat, the little skull pops out and it's just a subtle reminder to everyone that you're a total baller. So I like that aspect. Ultimately, a $500 boot isn't right for everyone, makes sense, but there's a reason beyond just style why some boots cost more than others. I think when you compare a 5 millimeter piece of oak tan leather against a 1 millimeter foam strip, pretty obvious why you're getting such a difference in price. Hit the little thumbs up below if you enjoyed this video, and until next time, put your best boot forward.